You guys can keep talking. We're not getting going for like another minute or two. We have like too much of an authoritative stance, don't we? We're all good. You can keep talking. It's okay. I love how the video that I played, the thing that silenced most crowds, didn't do it for you guys, but me just standing here scared you enough. So everyone's different. That's so okay. Good afternoon. It is now afternoon. I've been here all morning. My name's Tom. I work here at the university. I work specifically in the future students area. So my job is to help people understand their pathways and application processes and whatnot. But I'm not the one you're here to hear from. Hopefully you've all found the location correctly and that you're here to learn about midwifery. Is that correct? Cool, amazing. Thank you so much. Welcome to Open Day. This is the first ever Adelaide University Open Day, a very exciting time. As you hopefully are aware, I'll come back to that point. First off, let's acknowledge where we meet. We meet on the lands of the Kaurna people. It's on this land that a lot of the Adelaide University campuses are built upon, but we've also got campuses that are built on the lands of the Bongala and Bowendik people as well. So as such, I just want to pay my respects to Kaurna, Bowendik and Bongala elders, past, present and emerging. Back to my other point was, as you are likely aware, Adelaide University is a brand new university. It is the amalgamation of the University of South Australia and the University of Adelaide, and with this comes some really exciting opportunities. So this is the biggest change to the tertiary sector in Australia of about 50 years, and it's the biggest coming together of any two education institutes in the world at this point. So it has some really exciting opportunities and some really broad ambitions. Surprisingly, despite the university not opening till January, we've actually achieved one of these already. We're already ranked in the top 1% of universities. and that's based on a ranking that came out like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So that's combining the strengths of our academics and our researchers to show that the quality of the education, not the IT though, the quality of the education is going to be top notch. I was going to say I'm running on fumes, and apparently that is too. So the amalgamation of the two universities, despite it going to be the largest educator of domestic students in the country, there's a lot of amazing things that come with that, but there's a really strong commitment as well to focusing on making sure that you still feel like an individual at university. So despite the size, there is a real commitment to student experience, and I'm hoping that if you choose to study here, you really feel that, along with the ambition to be in that top 5 for student experience. So there is a lot of work being done by amazing people to make sure that's possible. So I'm going to speak broadly here because each program operates a little bit differently, but a big opportunity that's come from this combining of the two universities is a chance to really reflect on the strengths of what both universities brought to the table and to look at where we want to go. So a big part of that is having this Adelaide attainment model laid over all of our curriculum and what we teach. And what that is to say is that the experience that you have whilst at university is consistent but also really accessible. So what that looks like is that all of the curriculum that you're going to be studying is what's referred to as modular and stackable and whatnot, because when you go to university and you have a life outside of high school and whatnot, it's not always linear. Sometimes you will go from high school straight to university, sometimes you'll go from school to life and then uni, or uni, then leave and come back. This way that the curriculum's structured is to enable you to step out when you need to, if something ever comes up, or maybe your journey is a little bit less linear. Have recognition for that, so potentially getting a qualification only after studying 1 year of your 3-year degree or 2 years, and then being able to come back and build upon that. Obviously, being a brand new university, there is a lot of curriculum design that is digitally rich, meaning that when you are on campus because you need to be, and you're doing things with your hands or with your peers, so that you're not just in a lecture theatre like this, listening to someone rattle on for an hour, and I promise that's not what this is. But it is a really meaningful way to engage on campus because we've got that digitally rich experience. While it may not apply to this program specifically, where programs have like really strict accreditation requirements, this isn't as applicable, but worth knowing about. Another element of the Adelaide University experience is the Common Core courses, meaning that if you're in a little bit more flexible of a program, maybe it's like business or commerce or arts or whatever it might be, there are opportunities for you to connect with your peers across the university through topics that you choose that build on some of those softer skills that industry requires once you graduate. So where programs that don't have the flexibility for this, it's kind of embedded throughout the curriculum anyway. So this is just a really intentional way for you to do that on top of what you learn. And in terms of other opportunities, being the largest educator for domestic students in the country, we have obviously got a lot of industry connections, and we want to make sure that students get the most of those as well. So what this program, the Adelaide Academy, sets out to achieve is to leverage those. So if you're a high achieving student and you want to push yourself further, or you have a high potential to do so, we want to be able to nurture that and provide you with additional opportunities through, maybe some advanced coursework or research projects or industry engagement like networking or whatnot. It is still relatively new to us, so we're piloting it next year, building on some foundational university frameworks, but worth keeping an eye out on if that is something that you're interested in for next year, because it'll start to roll out from there. But you have not come here to listen to me talk about all of this. You have a fantastic academic presenter who's going to talk to you all about the program, and then we can dive into some questions at the end. So if you do have any, please hold on to them and remember them, and then we'll dive into Q&A right at the end of the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So my name's Angela Brown. I'm the Program Director for the Bachelor of Midwifery and the Master of Midwifery Graduate Entry. I'm going to talk more about the Bachelor of Midwifery today. That is the program that we currently offer. We offer it at both of our regional campuses at Mount Gambier and Whyalla, and we offer it here in 2 modes. So you can either be attend campus, or you can be enrolled as an online student. And online students, they actually do need to come on campus for workshops, and quite a few of them actually. So it's not a 100% online course, so you do need to be in South Australia to do this course, and you do need to attend one of our 3 campuses. The program is accredited by the National Accreditation Authority, so it must be completed within 6 years, but we do offer the program part-time. The guaranteed ATAR score at this point in time is 90, but we have increased our numbers for 2026, so I encourage you, even if you're not quite there and you really want to be a midwife, then please apply anyway, because you may still actually get offered a place. So what is midwifery? I've been a midwife for a very long time, and it has been the best degree. I've loved my career as a midwife and still do. I think this degree, and coming into this degree, it's really important to understand what midwives do. So I just wanted to really briefly touch on that first, because some people come in there and think that being a midwife is about playing with babies, but midwifery is about women. It's about supporting women as they move through that pregnancy cycle and helping them to transition to parenthood as well. Supporting the whole family unit, supporting them within breastfeeding. But it's also about sexual and reproductive health, contraception, those sorts of things as well. But in your program, it's quite prescribed because it's an accredited program. So there are certain requirements that you need to meet throughout the 3 years. And we set you up to do that. We set you up so that you're able to do that. So it's very structured. So for example, in first year, you will do all of normal pregnancy. So you'll learn about how to care for a woman who's got a pretty straightforward normal birth. You'll learn all about caring for her antenatally, doing a normal vaginal birth, supporting a woman at a caesarean, looking after her postnatally, and also supporting her with breastfeeding. And then in your second year, we start to move into the space of complexity. So you will learn how to look after women when things don't go quite right. So we do a lot of that, we do everything under simulation in our sim labs. If you haven't had a look, I encourage you to do so. So for example, if a woman has a bleed after she has a baby, you will do that under simulation, where you'll get to manage a postpartum hemorrhage under supervision on fake women, and then we'll put you out in the clinical environment. There's quite a lot of placement hours in this degree. Our third year is just consolidation of years 1 and 2, and lots of placement. So first year, you've got 4 weeks of placement. In your second year, you've got 8 weeks, and each placement block in this degree is 2 weeks. And in your third year, you've got 16 weeks of placement. And you're working with clinicians, you're working with midwives, and you're under direct supervision at all times. But what you're actually trying to do is to meet your minimum requirements. So 30 vaginal births, you need to be the person that does that birth for 30 women. You need to care for 100 women in the antenatal period. You need to look after 100 women in the postnatal period. These are minimum requirements. Some students do more, but all of our students that graduate get to these numbers, even though they think they never will, they do. The simulation hospital, that pretty much goes with all of our big courses. So we teach you normal pregnancy, then you go and you practice on our fake women, you learn how to do the physical aspects of care, but also connecting with women. Midwifery is very much about relationships with women and families. So we teach you how to develop those relationships. And it's actually really special when you get to go and support women and become a part of their lives at such a special time. So the continuity of care program I will briefly mention as well. That is where you follow women through their pregnancy. So our students will be following next year 10 women throughout their pregnancy across the 3 years of the program. And for that, you will go to a minimum of 4 antenatal visits. So you'll go along with her and the midwife, and you will go to the labour and birth. You'll be on call for that. And then you will go to her postnatal visits as well, and you support her with her transition to becoming a mother. Students absolutely love that part of the program, but it's also quite challenging for them as well. So, but I do that without a doubt, they say that's the best and the hardest part of the program. We get so many letters from women, emails from women to say how incredible it was to have a student there at their birth and what a difference that they make. So your roles, if you choose to study midwifery as students, are really critical to the women's experience. I'm going to talk really briefly about the Master of Midwifery graduate entry. That is a program that's currently under accreditation. It's not accredited yet, but we will be offering that from mid next year, pending its accreditation, and that will be a 2-year degree, a master's level degree, for anyone that has an undergraduate degree and wishes to study midwifery. If they have studied a health-related degree, they can come in to the program. They just need to have done an undergraduate bachelor's degree. If it's not a health-related degree, they need to do some bridging science, human anatomy course, and that course will be for registration as a midwife, and that takes 2 years. So that's another option as well. I'll just briefly mention that being potential students, you may have heard that the government is now introduced a prac payment scheme. I know that a lot of our students have taken up the opportunity to get this to support nursing and midwifery students to actually attend their placements. So if you're eligible for that, that is an option for you, and that sort of eases some of the pressure of those long blocks of placement that you have across the program. So what can you do as a midwife? Well, we really set you up to offer caseload or continuity midwifery group practice midwifery care, which means that you can take a caseload of women a month, you can provide all of their care antenatally, labour and birth, postnatally, and you work in teams. But likewise, you might want to work at a hospital or a health service, or you might want to work in primary health. You can work in private hospitals, public hospitals, you can do private midwifery practice. There are lots and lots of options for you as midwives. There's education and there's research. A lot of our midwifery team are active researchers, where we've all done research in midwifery space. Questions? And I know that the questions will come around placement. They always do.
So hopefully you've had a chance to start thinking about some questions. If there's not a hand up, one question that we got earlier in the nursing session was, do you get many people that come from like a TAFE background with like a diploma of nursing go into midwifery?
Not really, no. We tend to get lots of mums, people with kids, and school leavers. So it's like, you know, women go off and have a baby and then they think, oh yeah, I think I'd like to do this, and they come in that way. We actually get a lot of people that already have a degree, so that master's pathway would be good, I think, for them going forward. Yeah. Yes?
So the question was around what can you do following the degree in terms of practicing in other countries?
You can practice in Australia because you will be registered in Australia. You can attempt to be registered overseas, but it would depend on the country. I know that I get emails from students that say, look, I'm in Canada, I want to register, could I have a letter to say what's in my degree? But it will depend on where you would want to go. It isn't an international registrar. You would need to meet their local requirements as well.
Down the back. Yeah, so how many students do we take into the midwifery program each year?
Yeah, so we actually increased our numbers for Adelaide University, so we will take 150 into first year in this campus, which includes the face-to-face and the online. In our regional campuses, we'll have 20 and 25.
Yep, another question from...
Just in terms of nursing versus midwifery, is this degree transferable to nursing?
So what are the key differences between midwifery and nursing?
Yep. It's a good question, and I get asked that quite a bit. I think I'm a nurse and a midwife, but since I did midwifery 25 years ago, I have never looked back to nursing. So I think they're very different careers, and I think in 2013 we started doing midwifery as a standalone degree. If you wanted to then study nursing and you've got your midwifery, if you worked in a regional area, that might be beneficial to you, but you certainly wouldn't need that working here. You would get some credit, but it would depend on how long ago you did your midwifery and a whole lot of other things. But you would likely get some credit for some courses, yeah. But certainly not needed. I think understanding what it is that you want to do understanding what midwives do and what it is that you like about midwifery and understanding that it's working with women is very different to nursing. And I can say that because I'm both. And women are well generally in midwifery. You're not actually working with sick people. You've got well women. Obviously things go wrong and you learn to manage those things, but on the whole you've got healthy, well women that you're working with.
Question down the right.
I just have a question regarding the nursing, breastfeeding side of it. You mentioned that globally, you teach that, but is there also another path that you go down to be just a lactation consultant?
So the question was around how do you specialise in terms of lactation consultants? Is there a pathway or a study path?
It's a good question. Yes, we teach, obviously we teach breastfeeding in the Bachelor of Midwifery, and we teach it to quite a high level. It's very important. We will be offering next year in the postgraduate space a course in, I think it's called Advanced Lactation and Breastfeeding, but there's also what's called the international, I've forgotten the name of it. There's an international qualification that many midwives go and get as well. But in response to that, we're introducing this course next year so that midwives working in South Australia who might want to get some more advanced knowledge around breastfeeding can actually complete that course as part of a master's.
So am I correct in saying that pathway to do such a thing might be starting off as a midwife and then specialising as a lactation consultant?
Yep.
Perfect.
And many people do that. It's quite popular.
Yeah.
If you haven't reached that 90-day time, how do you go about applying to be a midwife?
Yeah, what kind of pathway? So the question was around minimum entry requirements, and if you don't meet the guaranteed score of 90, what are your pathway options? What kind of pathways do students typically come in from?
Some of them will start a Bachelor of Nursing, and the reason that they do nursing as opposed to any other degree is because we share 3 courses in first year, and those courses are the 2 human biology courses and the Aboriginal First Peoples Health course. So they aim to be competitive and then apply into midwifery at the end. Some of them go on and finish nursing and then come to midwifery, but there are other things that you could any competitive score in any university degree would help get you in. I would encourage you to apply regardless of not meeting 90 because I think we've got more numbers this year. It might be that you get 85, 86 and you could be offered a place. Yeah. So I'd encourage you, if that's what you want to do, to apply as your first preference.
Yeah, and generally speaking, when there's a guaranteed score, there's also a minimum score, which may typically be a little bit below that. So definitely still worth putting in as your first preference if that's what you want to get into. Other pathways, if you had a diploma or higher, you could be considered if it's from a registered training organisation. You could start off, in another program, do at least 6 months of full-time study, but with midwifery, it is just worth noting that it only has 1 intake per year. Yeah. So meaning that if you chose to start off in 1 degree, you couldn't actually transfer or move across until February the following year. So you'd be doing that degree for a full year before you could even think about moving across. Right down the front.
Spoke about your graduate program this year starting next year. What if your qualification, it was to be an entry, what if your qualification came, 20 months? I think, when you're if you're looking to halfway through life and you're looking to go, I didn't get an ASA, my degree is quite old. How do you still have to apply for that?
Yeah. So just for those who couldn't hear, the question was regarding the postgraduate midwifery program, and if you haven't studied or had any recent academic qualification, if you've studied previously, maybe a bachelor's qualification, what would be the pathway in?
So the entry requirements are a completed bachelor's level degree in any field, but if it's not a health-related field, you must do some human anatomy and physiology. So it wouldn't matter.
And it doesn't matter necessarily if that degree was completed last year or 20 years ago. If you've completed a AQF 7, that's the framework that we use, so a bachelor's level qualification in a country that's recognised on that framework, so Australia, you will be eligible to apply for that postgraduate program. Again, meeting those specific subject requirements. And there's a bunch of bridging courses that you can do online to bridge those human movement and biology topics, or even topics that you could do online through universities that make up that. But we can chat through that if there's specific people in those scenarios back in like the inquiry booths and whatnot. I see a few hands. We've got a bit of time, so let's jump up the back first.
At the end of the midwifery degree, do you have like the 1 year like transition to practice type scenario, or is it straight into the job?
Well, you
So
don't.
do you want to just repeat that one real quick? No, you can if you want.
The question was around what do you do at the end of the degree? Do you do what we call a TPPP or a transition to professional practice, or do you go straight into the job? You can do either. I would encourage you, if you can, to do a TPPP, because you get really well supported in that. You get a lot of professional development activities, and even if you've been a student for 3 years and you're feeling pretty confident, it is a big bit of a culture shock when you go out and you're actually on your own. And so I think it's a nice thing to do. Midwives are all getting jobs. There are so many jobs for midwives at the moment. Industry is crying out for midwives. And we've worked really closely with them on the development of the Masters, graduate entry, and in the transition over to Adelaide University.
It's for a couple. So let's go the close one first, then we'll come back up to you.
You mentioned the students need to participate in Thursday night birth. How do the students source these patients? Does the GP help, or do they have to source them on their own?
So the question was regarding all of the requirements and like birthing requirements and whatnot. How do students actually meet those, and what support do they have?
That's a really good question. So we give you structured formal placement blocks. And like I was saying earlier, each year, starting in first year, you'll do your 4 weeks in 2-week blocks. In your second year, we'll start putting you in labour ward. And so you'll get 4 weeks of labour ward in second year and another 4 weeks in your final year. And then your continuity of care women as well, you follow them through their pregnancy. So you will attend their labour and births as well. If you're a bit short, you can do extra shifts as well in your final year, but we support you through all of it. Your continuity of care program, we actually get you to recruit the women yourself in clinic, but we spend a full day with you going through how to do that and what the best way to approach women is. So you're never on your own. You're in a structured formal placement under midwifery supervision at all times.
Fantastic. And then, straight at the back.
In relation to the Masters program, if you've met the requirements to apply, let's say Bachelor of Nursing, recent Bachelor of Nursing, what is the entry based on? Is it grades? Is it a test, an interview?
Yeah, so the question was about, let's say you meet all of the requirements on paper for the Masters of Midwifery program. What is the process and what are they looking for?
We're still going through that final accreditation, so I can't tell you exactly. I think it won't be an interview or anything like that. We're seeking accreditation for 40 places. So I imagine it will be of interest to people. We usually get each year quite a few students in the BMid who have got an undergraduate degree or higher. But I can't tell you exactly what that'll look like. But I think if you've got a degree and you're interested, put an application in. It'll be through SATAC the same way that you do for this degree, and see what happens. Yeah. I think we would plan to increase that numbers as we go. I think the second year we might up it to 80, depending.
Yeah, and I guess generally speaking, with postgraduate programs, it may just be the successful completion of a bachelor's degree is all that's considered. Where there is fierce competition for the places, that's where additional tests come in, like maybe it is an interview or otherwise, but I don't know if there's the intention of doing that.
We weren't planning an interview, no.
No. We've probably got time for maybe 2 or 3 more questions, so...
What are the benefits of the Masters degree over the Bachelor?
Yeah, so is there any benefit for the Masters versus Bachelor in terms of scope of practice or anything like that?
Yep, that's a great question. It is the same content, but it's at a higher AQF level. So if you had an undergraduate degree, I would think it would be not a good use of your time to do the bachelor's, because this course is in 2 years as opposed to 3. And having a master's level qualification gives you a slightly higher pay grade with SA Health employers. Tiny, but still, it's slightly higher. And If you can do, rather than do 2 bachelors, it makes sense to do a master's as your second qualification, but it's actually a master's for registration. So the content is the same, but we probably pitch our assessments and things slightly higher because of the AQF level.
But in terms of like your scope of practice and the duties that you'll perform, by the end of the program, it'll be the same?
It'll be for registration. Same numbers, same everything. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go down the front.
Can you elaborate on the theory component of the course?
Yeah.
So what does the theory component of the course actually look like?
Yeah, okay. So first year we will start with normal pregnancy. So we'll go through all of the theory around pregnancy care, antenatally, postnatally, so how to look after women in clinic, what sort of things do you need to know about pregnancy, how to take a health history, how to support a woman during birth, options for pain relief. You also have your science courses, you have First People's Health, you have some public health when we look at a course called Healthy Mothers and Babies. So we look at breastfeeding, we look at more of that public health space. You move on into your second year and you start to look at complexity. So you look at science, pathophysiology, you look at complications of pregnancy and childbirth. You look at, I'm trying to think, care of the neonates, so complexity with neonates. So all the normal stuff, theory is in first year, and then it's all the complexity. And then in your final year, you do perinatal mental health. You do a course called Women's Health Across the Lifespan, where you look at menopause, contraception, all sort of women's health basically across her whole lifespan. And then you also do, I'm trying to think, a research course, and you do a course called Becoming a Midwife, where we teach you how to do suturing and cannulation and just learn about that sort of transition to professional practice. We have lots of different assessments. So we do oral vivas instead of exams. So we don't actually get you to sit down and do long exams, written exams. We actually test you orally because we want it to be as similar to what you're going to be doing out in practice. We do a lot of what we call an OSCA before you'd go out on placement, which is a little clinical test. So for example, if you're going to labour ward, it might be about a little test on how you go doing an admission to labour ward, for example. So we do those, we do all sorts of different, we do group assessments, we do some written assessments obviously, but most of our really important assessments are oral now, and that's really helping students to be able to get their head around what clinical practice looks like and being able to think on the spot as well.
Just in case they didn't hear the question, it hopefully was pretty obvious, but it was about the different types of assessments. No, that's okay. These questions have all been fantastic. We've pretty much come to the end of the session. That doesn't mean it's the end of the questions though. There are plenty of places that you can go throughout the rest of Open Day to get all of your questions answered. So we have health experts in Brookman Hall, we've got people in the hub, but as mentioned, we've got the birthing suites open. So if this is a program that you're really interested in, please come down and have a look. They're really amazing facilities. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for speaking with us.